Hello and welcome to 5-inch Floppy on GameArena.com.au. I'm Junglist. We've never done an MMO on the show before. It's a stale, unchanging genre full of exploitative game systems, more concerned with keeping you in the game than enjoying it. And besides, how much can you possibly review an MMO in 1 week? But some interesting things have been coming out of Korea. Games that can be considered games, more than treadmills or poke machines. The latest such title is TERA, made for both Korean and Western markets, which aims to be an action MMO. And we're pleased to report that this isn't entirely bullshit. Of course, to dive into one of these time sinks, I needed a little convincing. No, please, no! Don't make me! But we feel it's important to cover games that are taking a step forward, and incorporating action mechanics into an MMO setting is the future of the genre. It's been happening in Korea for years now. So, full disclosure, this is a primarily PvE-focused review of levels 1 to 30, although we feel like we got a pretty good idea of what the game is. One of the instant benefits of jumping into an MMO that's been out in Korea already for a couple of years is there's none of the launch issues that we've come to associate with the genre. And there's already tons of content to explore. The world of TERA is big, beautiful, and teeming with many different kinds of enemies to introduce to your blade, right up until endgame.
Try controlling this! Malgarios, rise and feed!
Being an action MMO, TERA's creators are really pushing the ability to use a controller with the game as a symbol of how actiony it really is, presumably to give the idea that it's a sort of god of war with thousands of people connected. We actually had trouble getting our PS3 controller working, but we were able to use a program called Motion Enjoy to fool the computer into thinking it was a 360 controller. But how is using a controller in an MMO possible? This is done by making R1 and L1 function keys. A press of L1 and the face buttons change. R1, they change again, both at the same time, and it's different again. But the crazy amount of abilities fast become too much for the little controller, and even with analog sticks your turning is still restricted to 45, 90-degree turns, etc. It's fine for sitting back, being lazy, but serious players and PvPers will want the many buttons of a keyboard and the quick aim of a mouse. Now that whole aiming thing might be a problem for Australians, seeing as servers are in Chicago. TERA is a game with no auto-targeting. Even healers have to aim at their targets, meanwhile melee classes have to actually dodge or block attacks. It's almost as if it's a real combat system, the type of gameplay that would be impressive to single-player gamers in 1998, but it's impressive now because there's thousands of people connected to the server. The lag in TERA ranges from barely noticeable to an atrocious 2 whole seconds, and the worst of it seems to happen right around Australian peak time. Odd. So, given the lag, we set about finding a class best for Australians. Not too melee focused, because dodging out of the way in time might be hard. Not too aim focused either, because lag will make us miss. What about, the AoE caster. Perfect. As for the races, there's a Final Fantasy-esque variety to choose from, with some Draenei-like half-giants and demons on one end, and cute pixies and teddy bears on the other end that are somehow all equal on the field of battle, even the front-heavy females showing off their huge tracts of land. Getting back to the classes, it's important you choose well, because the roles are very traditional and very rigid in TERA. Go the full-on tank class and you'll be tanking all game. There is no other use for you. As it turns out, we needn't have worried too much about the lag. Enemies telegraph their attacks by waving their weapon around in the air for a half second, making it easy to dodge even for the classes without a dodge ability. And as for the aiming, only some require actual aiming. The majority allow you to drag your cursor across the screen until you tag a target, then release. Solo questing in TERA is so unimaginative, it's like a caricature of the genre. We need you to cull the boars here. You have to take out the enemy commander there. Collect 10 of this, kill 10 of that. You walk from zone to zone, killing, collecting, freeing prisoners, and there's always an escort quest that goes so freaking slow. Of course, that's to be expected in an MMO. What we didn't expect from TERA was the combat to be so dull. Yes, there are the positional elements. You have to dodge, and sometimes enemies will even dodge or block you. but you're largely doing the same thing the entire time. A good combat system should make you adapt to the situation. But we were literally able to use the same sequence that remained optimum the entire way through. What good is all this positional combat if you're not even going to use it? We'll answer that question after a short commercial break. He's the NPC that's taking players for a ride.
How do you deny that you ripped players off?
You again, look, I've told you once, I'll tell you again, I've got no comment. Nothing to say to you, no comment. I run a legitimate business, you've come to my home, get that thing out of my...
It's shoddy questmanship.
The contract clearly stipulates 5 spider eggs. If you've got 4 spider eggs, I can't help you. How am I supposed to make an antidote with 4 spider eggs? Can't be done. I can't help you.
I gave him what he asked for, and he said he needed 10 boar tusks and 10 pristine boar tusks. It's not good enough.
It's not good enough.
I delivered a letter for him out of the goodness of my heart, and then I find out he gets everyone along the road to deliver letters for him. This is not Australia Post, mate. And when I confronted him about it, he slapped me.
Who will his next victim be? All that and our poorly researched sensationalist report on how video games turn children into psychopathic killers at 7. Welcome back. Now, with clever writing, some games are able to disguise the fact that every NPC in their world suddenly needs herbs gathered for them over and over. TERA does not have clever writing. What it does have is interesting enemy design, and in fact there's interesting art all throughout the game. From the scenery to the big enemies, to a lot of stuff that's just so darn cute. Look at this cat, he's too little for his big sword. Makes me want to bang my fists on the ground, he's so cute. You've got your cute little barrel heads, and oh, there's a cute little undead mole. Oh, these little guys, they're just so cute until you slam them! Then there's the not so much cute as confusing side. Our character wore a sexy nightie for most of the game until we downed a dungeon boss and came across this naughty little number. I'm not attracted to pixels, but I didn't not enjoy getting this pan shot. More like fan shot. So the higher quality the gear, the sexier it is. Don your dungeon lingerie and you're ready for combat. Clearly they don't think too much of the average MMO player's maturity. Okay, maybe they've got a point. Which brings us to our 10 seconds of unedited footage this week, the only bit of the game that I couldn't tear my eyes away from. No, just kidding, we wouldn't do that. Instead, we'll use our 10 seconds to segue into the cool part of the game, partying. Now we're talking. Taking on big monsters with your friends is what TERA is all about. It's a shame you have to do so much tedious solo questing as well, but this is where it starts to come into its own as a sort of co-op God of War or Monster Hunter. Whether your party has 2, 3, 4, or 5 people in it, it doesn't matter. Slamming these behemoths is fun. There's an impressive variety of them, and they're all extremely well designed and animated. And they all make use of positional combat in a way most MMOs can only be jealous of. Within melee range, there are very basic combos you can do, but you'll have to dodge and block and actually pay attention to the cues your enemy gives you. That's the most important thing. The reason you feel like you're in a fight instead of rolling a die is because you have to keep your eye on the enemy. It's the same with healers and casters. Instead of staring at a screen full of boxes and health bars, targeting whoever's in the red, you need to create lines of sight and continue to search for that optimum distance from the boss. Outside its attack range, but inside your spell range. And that brings us to endgame. TERA is an epic game in every sense of the word. You fight epic monsters. It takes up an epic amount of space on your hard drive. Its solo questing is an epic fail, but its party system is a step forward. People in the game can't stop talking about how much they love it. Pretty epic for a game in a genre moving slower than a weeping angel at the Super Bowl. It's a treadmill of a game, yes, but it's a game in 2 halves, and its better half takes that vital step that MMOs of the future will need to take, of finally providing players with real fun instead of the illusion of fun.